Hi, in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can tidy your QuickBooks list in a few different ways. So do you have a problem finding the correct customer or vendor to assign transactions to, or you're struggling to work out how much money you owe or are owed because you got duplicate entries on which the names are ever so much slightly different? Or you might have multiple expense accounts for the same expense category, making it hard to work out exactly what your costs are. Or even have multiple items in inventory which have duplicate names. So one item might be named 3 or 4 different versions of the same thing, making it hard to get an accurate picture of what items you're selling, how many you have in stock, or exactly how much you're missing in sales, or being unable to deliver on customer orders, leading to bad customer satisfaction. This might occur because you've had multiple staff over the years entering in different versions of the customer or creating new product names when they already existed in QuickBooks. Finally, it could be that you're reaching your QuickBooks limits and maybe getting close to exceeding the ones that are available for your version of QuickBooks. And here are some examples of the numbers. For a Pro or Premier, you're only going to be able to use 14,500 names, and that includes customers, vendors, and employees. Or your item list may be getting too long. So those are the things, just every now and again, it's worth doing a little bit of housekeeping to keep those lists under control. Once you've tidied them up, you'll benefit from having more accurate data within QuickBooks. It'll be easier to enter things and should lead to a clearer picture of exactly where you are in terms of inventory, in terms of accounts receivable and accounts payable. So it has big benefits where just a little bit of time, housekeeping every now and again can deliver a big benefit to your business. So what we'll do now, we'll get into QuickBooks Desktop, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways of cleaning up your lists. But one thing I need you to do before you do that, it's always a very good idea to do a backup of your QuickBooks data. So if any point in the future you decide, actually, I didn't want to do that, I want to go back to how it was before, then you can restore the backup. Let's get onto the desktop and I'll show you some of these ways of cleaning up your lists in QuickBooks. The first way is to delete unwanted names, items, or accounts directly out of QuickBooks. And this is the most simple and straightforward way of removing any names or items that you don't want from QuickBooks. So we'll go into the Customer Center and let's see, we're going to let's find the item that we've got a duplicate of. So we know we've got one here which is Aardvark Inc. and one which is Aardvark Industries. So Aardvark Industries is the duplicated name or name that we don't want anymore. So what we need to do is put our mouse over that name. We're going to right click and then select Delete Customer Job. So first off, QuickBooks is going to give you a confirmation here to make sure that you do want to delete this, and we can click OK. Now that's only possible if that name, customer, vendor, employee, or item has not been used in a transaction. If it has, then you're going to get an error message, something like along the lines of this. So I'm going to select this other Aardvark one. I'm going to select Delete Customer Job. Now you can see here's the alert from QuickBooks. Because it's got a balance or it has been used on a transaction in the past, it's not going to let you make it, or it's not going to let you delete it. And that's for a very good reason, because you don't want to really remove customers or make transactions lost or unlinked in the QuickBooks database. So that's a good reason why. So the second way to really tidy up those lists, and whether they're being and this is going to be used when the name has transactions against it, or and there is a balance against that, is what we call, QuickBooks called to make inactive. Essentially what that does, and we'll show you how you can do that here. So I'm going to say right select on the customer that I want to make inactive, and I'm going to select make customer job inactive. So you still get another warning that there is a balance on this customer, but we're going to go ahead with that. So we're just going to select yes. Now essentially what that does is it actually hides it from the active customer list, and means that when you come to entering transactions in QuickBooks, it's not possible to select that because you can only view or select active customers. What we can do here is we can come back here, we can select all customers, and there you can see this name that we made inactive has a cross against it, showing that we made it inactive and it's actually hidden on the record. And the reason being for this is you can then go back and see any history associated with that name or list item that was made inactive. And we're not actually deleting it, so we're not removing it from the database. So that's a second way, and probably more commonly used way, of cleaning up item lists or name lists or even vendors and so on. So the third way is to merge duplicated list items together. The way you do this is, in this example, we've got two Acme customers here. Now, it could be a vendor, it could be employees, but we'll use this as an example. So we want to merge these two accounts into one. Now, the important thing being here is we want to retain the transaction history underneath one account. So essentially we want to include all these transactions along with these transactions as well. So the way you do that in QuickBooks is we're going to select the one we want to merge from and the one we want to merge into. So I'm going to right click and edit the customer job, and up here I'm going to give it the same name as the customer that we want to merge into, and I'm going to click OK. So QuickBooks recognizes that the name is already being used within the customer list, and it's prompting you here, do you want to merge these two records together? So I'm going to select yes, and it's going to give you another warning. You can't reverse what you're doing here, so we're going to say yes, and we're going to continue on. And now you see that this one customer exists and the transactions are all merged underneath the one record. So that's another great way of merging duplicated together using the simple renaming of that name to match the existing customer. So some great ways to start tidying up those lists. But you're probably going to see that very quickly, if you have several hundred customers that you need to delete or make inactive or merge with something else, or that type of tidy up can become quite a repetitive process and will take you some considerable time. So what I'm going to show you now is how you can do those steps in batch using a data utility called Zed Axis. Now this is a third-party data utility, and open it up, and I'm going to select QuickBooks Desktop and I'm going to connect to it. And the first step in the process is what I'm going to do is actually export out the list that we want to tidy. So I'm going to select export. I'm going to select the customer list, and I'm going to grab that from QuickBooks. So what you'll see is that here are all the customers that you have in QuickBooks displayed in this grid here. I'm now going to select the export format as Excel and click OK, and it's going to prompt me where I want to save that, and I'm just going to put that on the desktop. So I've always got a backup of that customer list in an Excel sheet if I need to go back to that. Now I'll demonstrate the first way of being able to delete in batch customers or any other name or item from QuickBooks. So here I've got two customers that I'm going to delete. So I'm going to just uncheck those and I'm going to select those two rows, and then I'm going to check this little box down here which says delete from QuickBooks, and I'll just take a copy of that as well. So once I click OK, it's going to give you a warning message that it's going to batch delete names from QuickBooks, and I'm going to click yes, and it will go through and it will delete as many of those customer names as you've selected out of QuickBooks, as long as they still fill the criteria that there are no open transactions or balances against those names. So that's a really nice quick way of deleting unused names or items from QuickBooks quite quickly using this data utility. So the second way that we can use Axis to batch update is the method 2, which is marking these customers inactive. So once we've exported out the data, we can then browse to it. Once we've edited it, come back in here, and it will load in the exported customer list that we've been working on. Now all we need to do here is to create a new mapping, and I'm going to say add new mapping. I'll select the transaction type as customer, and we'll map the name, which is the identifying field for the customer, and we're just going to then also map whether it's inactive, this field here. So we'll say, we'll give that mapping a name and we'll save it. So what you'll see is the name, we'll only see the list that we're going to change, and we can just go through this, either edit it in Excel or we can actually do it in this grid here. So I'm just going to go through and mark the ones that I don't want to be, or want to be made inactive, just here. And I'm just going to put a filter in for all those that are false. So we're just going to do 3, but we could do, many hundreds here as we needed to. And then when we're ready, we're going to click on import, and Axis is going to go through and it's going to update those customers and make them inactive in QuickBooks. So there it's made 3 customers inactive in that quick process. And we can go back into here and see that the customer here, down the bottom here, the customer's been made inactive. So that's just another great way of using that method 2 of making customers inactive in batch. And finally, the third way of merging multiple duplicated customers or items or even vendors can be done in Axis as well. So I'm just going to bring up a template of some records that I'm going to merge. So here I've got a template from some sample data that I would potentially want to merge. So I've got what list type it is. So we've got a general ledger accounts, customers that we can merge, vendors, items, and so on. Then we have a column for the name that we're merging from, and also the name of, in this column, for that which we're merging to. So if we were to, let's do, for this example, we're going to do these 2 customers. So I'm going to uncheck these. I'm going to create a new map and select the transaction type as merge lists. And we'll map in the columns in our import template. So list merge, merge from, and merge to, customer merge, and we'll click save. And now we just need to confirm the names that we're going to merge in those customers' records. So I'll go into QuickBooks and find those records that we want to merge. So we're going to, again, I'll run a filter here just for the customers because we do that as a small test. And when we're ready, we can click on import. And Axis will go ahead and merge those two, go through the process of merging those customer records together. And there you have it. So that's really a powerful way of using the data utility like Zed Axis to tidy up your lists in batch, and also using Excel as the primary way of cleaning those up, which is much easier to do when you can fill down rows, and you can do lookups and so on. So that's just a great way of saving some extra time and effort. So thanks for listening, and that's just a few tips and helpful hints on how to tidy up your QuickBooks lists.